Welcome to another episode of Chat Sports Talk. And welcome to Week 8 of the 2024 college football season. That's right, we're already 8 weeks in. Seeing a lot of surprise teams sitting on top of the mountain right now. A few teams, a lot of surprise games already happening, especially in the SEC in the past couple weeks. We've seen teams that rise and then fall. So it is a fantastical time right now in college football, especially with the onset of the 12-team playoff format. You know, who's going to be the top 5 college conference champions, getting the AQ, who's going to be the 7 at large, how many do SEC and the Big Ten get? Those are all great questions. Well, we'll see the military academies trying to make a run for the national title once again. Never know. But before I dive into Week 8 and my 10 games for Saturday, let's go ahead and review last week's action and my take on my 10 games that I picked. And I went crashing back down to earth last week. I went 4-6. Partly because I picked too many damn upsets. It happens. When it came to that Red River Rivalry, it's always been one of those games that the one that's, overly hyped is the one that chokes, and they end up losing that game in the shootout. Texas decided not to adhere to that. They were overly hyped. Everything was pointing towards Texas, like it was last year, and they ended up losing. And I sat there, I was like, it's too much them, and I was like, no, Oklahoma's going to come out on top. So I forgot to tell Oklahoma, because after the first quarter, it was all Texas. Texas rattled off 34 unanswered points. Ewers wasn't Purdy. I mean, he's 20 of 29, almost 200 yards, with only one touchdown. It was Wisner that was a little bit better, almost 120 yards on the ground rushing on 13 carries for a touchdown. So it was a decent offensive showing, but it was the defense for the Longhorns that just stampeded over the Sooners. And Oklahoma could never get anything going after that first quarter. 34-3 was the final, giving me loss number 1. Then number 2, Eugene, for the big-time clash of the Big Ten season with Oregon hosting Ohio State. I knew this was going to be close. I picked the Ducks to win at home, and they did not disappoint, even though this game did go back and forth, and it was like the last-minute type of thing. But Gabriel for the Ducks, over 340 yards passing, 2 touchdowns from out of 23 of 34 passing. Not a bad showing for him. James, 115 yards on the ground, 23 carries, 1 touchdown. So the Ducks' offense was just too much for Ohio State to really contain. Ohio State's offense was too much for the Ducks' defense to contain as well. So both offenses looked really good. Just Oregon was able to just be just a little bit better and get that 1-point win, 32-31. There in L.A. at the old L.A. Memorial Coliseum, USC Trojans playing host to Penn State. And I thought this one would be a close matchup as well, and was not disappointed. LR for the Nittany Lions was 30 of 43, 391 yards, 2 touchdowns. Marks for the Trojans, 20 carries, 111 yards. So this game went back and forth. Penn State had to come back in that second half, really kind of get back into the swing of things, because they were down 20-6 at halftime. The game went into OT, where Penn State was able to escape with a 33-30 victory to remain undefeated, and possibly putting them and Oregon heading towards the Big Ten championship. Then we head over to Baton Rouge for another high-caliber SEC clash between Ole Miss and LSU. This one, I thought this was going to be, Lane Kiffin and Dart really coming up and escaping Baton Rouge closely in this game. And the defenses showed up until that fourth quarter, where Ole Miss defense collapsed, allowed LSU to tie the game, send this game to overtime. Ole Miss was able to, kick that field goal on the first attempt. LSU got it back and immediately scored a touchdown to win the game. Sent Ole Miss to 2 losses. LSU's right now is undefeated in SEC play. We'll see how that will stack up later on. But they still have big dates, especially against Alabama. That's going to really hamper their future possibilities, maybe. But that's a huge win for LSU. To Country Roads of West Virginia as the Mountaineers play host to Iowa State. This one I thought West Virginia was going to be able to weather the storm of the cyclone. And for the most part, they were. It was just that fourth quarter, their defense just kind of collapsed. Allow Iowa State to put up 2 touchdowns, gave them the 28-16 victory. For them to remain undefeated nationally and in conference play. Then we head over to Provo, Utah, where the Cougars playing host to Arizona. Thought it was an interesting matchup. Arizona, you never know which version of Arizona is going to show up. And unfortunately, it was the bad one. BYU offense and defense were having a field day with the Wildcats, and they just clobbered them 41-19 to maintain their perfect season. We haven't seen a good BYU team in a while, and we'll see how this one plays out. Head over to Boulder, where the Colorado Golden Buffaloes are playing host to K-State. I thought this would never be another close showdown between the two. I actually went with Colorado to win at home, and Sanders did not disappoint. 34-40 for 388 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he was definitely trying to do his best to get his team in there. They were. It was a close match at first half. 14-7, K-State led. K-State kind of kept the distance on Colorado throughout the game. Despite a huge, not really huge, but increased offensive input in that fourth final frame was not enough. K-State was able to hang on and win 31-28. They kind of sent Colorado back down, and we'll see what they can transpire from this and how they can move forward. But Colorado definitely has some pieces in place. Some injury bug really hampered them, so we'll see how they can recover. Head over to Pittsburgh, where Pitt were playing host to Cal. Cal's being one of the surprise teams that has some really good games. I mean, they went into Auburn and beat Auburn. Was taken into Miami but could not hold on against the Hurricanes. And Cal then decided to take on Pitt. The Cardiac Cats were definitely at it again. And it was just a low-scoring or high-scoring baseball game, if you want to look at it that way. 17-15. That's, Pitt was able just to do enough in the first half, and their defense had to take over that second half to try to keep it in place. He failed 2-point conversion, and Pitt was able to hang on 17-15 to remain undefeated. We head over to Iowa City, where the Huskies came to town. I thought this was a game that Washington can bounce back because they had a huge win against Michigan at home. Figure, all right, they got this. They can build upon that, push the pressure on the teams up top. Iowa's offense really showed up, and they just took it to them. And they were up 20-10.5 and just dominated Washington in that second half. Even though Rodgers had the better stats overall, but he could barely crack 200. Caleb Johnson ended up having 3 total touchdowns. I mean, he had 166 yards on the ground and 2 TDs that way. As Kirk Ferentz recorded his 200th Hawkeye win, and Iowa crushed Washington 40-16. Then we headed out to Charlottesville, where Virginia's playing host to Louisville. And I thought this was the game for Virginia to really announce themselves to the nation. And for the most part, they were battling the Cardinals very well. I mean, 17-13 into that final frame, but it was just fell a little short of the game. I mean, Colandrea for the Cavs, almost 208 yards in the air with only 1 touchdown. for the Cardinals. Brown had almost 150 yards rushing for 2 touchdowns. And that's basically what the difference was the running attack of Louisville was able to sustain enough to keep the Cavs' aerial assault on the sideline because they had limited time to interact and try to put up the points. And Louisville was able to just edge out the Cavs 24-20, giving me my 6th loss of the season, or the week, season, wow. And there was a lot of other interesting aspects. Is like a couple games I didn't worry about was like South Carolina, Alabama, and Florida and Tennessee, because I figured Alabama and Tennessee was going to go into those games looking to rebound off of their upset loss to the Vanderbilt, Arkansas, respectively. So I thought it was going to be one-sided affair. Not the case. Alabama was struggling in South Carolina. South Carolina recovered an onside kick, and it was a late interception that saved Alabama victory. And for Tennessee, they had to go to OT to knock off Florida. So definitely those two were not at peak performance. So with that being said, let's just go ahead and scream into the 10 games I want to cover for week 8 for Saturday, for the Saturday showdown. I had a multitude of games on this list. I ended up having up to 13. I had to dwindle it down, and that was kind of hard to do. Some games I did take off was Arizona State, Cincinnati, North Texas, Memphis, and Louisiana and Coastal Carolina. I know those are just not ones you really want to emphasize on, but could have some serious implications because these are all schools that have 4 wins already, and they're making a stand to try to make themselves bowl eligible and take that next leap and see what transpires with them. Kicks things off in Louisville, where 4-2 Cardinals will play host to undefeated 6th-ranked Miami. And this is going to be a huge clash between the two because Miami has not looked dominant. They're able to withstand games or the ability to come back, i.e. the Cal game. But Ward has been pretty good. I mean, 2,200 yards plus, 20 touchdowns and 5 picks. Not doing too shabby. I mean, definitely got some quality game stats right there. He's probably a mid-card draft, maybe late first round, definitely an early second round draft pick. But the Cardinals are just one of these pesky teams that's going to trying to hamper the flow. And, they need this win to kind of keep pace with the top dogs in the ACC to kind of put pressure on them. But, if they let Miami get out ahead, they might not find a way back. I have a feeling Louisville will find themselves ahead in this game, at least in the first half. Is that second half is when Miami's going to start clicking, the gears start turning, and they'll start racking up the points. Miami's favored by 4.5. I kind of like that as well. I will also take the Hurricanes to win in Louisville. Sticking in the ACC, we'll head over to Clemson and Death Valley as the 10th-ranked Tigers play host to 4-2 Virginia. 2 weeks in a row, I've covered Virginia. Virginia's going to come in here huge underdogs. Right now, Clemson's favored by 21.5. I probably will take Virginia for the points. I have a feeling Virginia is going to get Clemson a little bit more than what they can handle. They might actually try to scare them. But I think overall, Klubnik and the Tigers are just going to find ways to rack up the points. But can Clemson's defense keep Fields contained for the Cavs? That probably will for a while. I think Virginia find other ways to move the ball. I have a feeling their defense might play havoc for Clemson for a while. I won't be surprised if this is going to be a close game for like 3 quarters. And it's the fourth quarter is when Clemson actually shows up. I do think Clemson will win. And it's not going to be by 21. I do feel it's going to be like probably a 10, 12-point victory. Virginia is going to give them a fight, but Clemson will come out on top. Then we head over to Bloomington, Indiana, and undefeated Hoosiers playing host to 5-1 Nebraska. You heard it right. Indiana football is undefeated. What circle of hell are we sitting in? But the Hoosiers are coming in there work. Decent numbers, 1,700 yards plus passing, 14 touchdowns, 2 picks. Elson, over 400 yards rushing, 6 touchdowns. So a decent offense. But Nebraska does have a defense to kind of help them out. I mean, they did in Rutgers' undefeated streak. And I have a feeling they're going to end Indiana's undefeated streak. Indiana's favored by 6.5. I think they're overlooking Nebraska a lot. I think Nebraska a little quirky on offense. I think Indiana's defense will kind of hamper Big Red's ability to score points. But Big Red's defense is going to hamper the Hoosiers' offense from scoring points. I think it's going to be a defensive showdown. But I do think Nebraska will come out on top. We're over to Rocky Top in Knoxville, Tennessee, with a huge ACC clash between arch rivals Alabama and Tennessee. And this doesn't have the same flavor that I think we kind of expected. I mean, 2 weeks ago, I covered it earlier in the video. 2 weeks ago, they lost. They got upsetted. And then last week, the games are supposed to come back on. They struggled and barely won. So these teams are not that dominant. And I do think it's going to be a very good clash. I do think Alabama will come out and try to establish themselves early. But I think the Vols will find ways to score. I mean, Sampson's almost a 700-yard rusher and 15 touchdowns. Can the tie contain him? But they do that, and then they let the Vols receivers become available, and that could become another issue. And can Tennessee contain Milroe, who's put up some decent numbers? I mean, almost under 1,500 yards passing with 12 touchdowns, 4 picks. And his star receiver, Williams, has 6 of those touchdowns. They take away Williams. What does that do with Milroe? And can they contain Milroe? And that's another issue. Right now, Alabama's favored by 3. I kind of get that one, but I will take the Vols in this one. Come out on top. I think they need to get this. They need this statement game, and this is going to be a huge statement game if they could come out on top. Because SEC is kind of open. I mean, even though it looks like Texas could be running away with it, but we'll see later on because they're also featured in this video and this week. But I don't know. I got to give it to Rocky Top and see if they can contain the Tide in Knoxville. Then we head down to the ATL where Georgia Tech will play host to 12th-ranked Notre Dame. Notre Dame's starting to rack up some wins, put on some decent numbers. Not have really been taken on too big of a programs as of yet. The only I can think of the marquee one you could really put on there is A&M. That lost to Northern Illinois still haunts them. Then will haunt them for a while. They're expecting more turmoil up top for them to get up there. But taking on a pesky Georgia Tech team, they will struggle. I will put it out there. Georgia Tech went to North Carolina and knocked off the Tar Heels. I mean, they were happy to go in overtime. They ran back the interception for the win. Again, the Tar Heels 4 straight losses. So they're going to be a big-time problem for the Irish. This looked like to be a bigger game earlier in the season when Georgia Tech had a huge win against Florida State, and they had that good going, and they stumbled a bit. I would not be surprised if Georgia Tech was winning most of this game. The Irish had a lot of injuries happening, but their Leonard's really starting to thrive. passing more, connecting more to the receivers. He can still run as well if he has to. Well, there's a lot of offensive power for the Georgia Tech. And I don't know, Notre Dame's defense, because that's where the majority of the injuries are, is that defense can't contain the Yellow Jackets in their hive. Notre Dame's favored by 11.5. I have a feeling Notre Dame will win, but it won't be by 11.5. I do believe this is going to be a lot closer than what the spread's saying right now. Georgia Tech will make this a game, and Notre Dame is going to have to fight to win this game. I do have a feeling they will win, probably by 3 points, but I'm giving it to the Irish to win in the ATL. Then we head up near my old stomping grounds in Champaign, Illinois, as the 22nd ranked Illini play host to 24th ranked Michigan. Wow, I don't think I've seen these two ranked the exact same time frame playing a game. It's been a while. The Illini have a very decent season, 5-1. Not a bad showing thus far. Definitely have some surprise wins. Michigan has been struggling. They had that game against Washington. They let it get out of the way, but they had a good game against USC at home. Definitely not the same Michigan team from last year. I think I mentioned it in a couple of videos already this season. The Illini are definitely a shocking team. Altmaier has proven to have a pretty successful passing, over 14 yards passing, 14 TDs, but only 1 pick. So that's going to be a key factor for the Illini to eliminate the mistakes, or limit the mistakes they have, and try to find ways to spread out the ball, because Bryant is their primary receiver. He has half the touchdowns from Altmaier. If Michigan takes that away, can the Illini recover? Can the Illini defense step up? They can. They went to Lincoln in a game I didn't think they could win and controlled that game. Michigan's favored by 3.5. I would give it to the Wolverines in this game. I don't want to. I really want to root for the Illini, but I'm not totally set on them just yet. But this is going to be a huge win. If they can get this win, there's going to be sky's the limit for the Illini if this one. But Michigan needs this win to stay relevant in the Big Ten, and I think they'll be a little bit more hungrier for that victory. Well, let's stay in the Prairie State, and we'll head up to DeKalb, Illinois, and home of the Northern Illinois Huskies. They play host to the Toledo Rockets. Both programs are 4-2, both 1-1 in the MAC. And the reason why I'm featuring this game, one, kind of give MAC Nation a little love, and give the group a little love as well. But these are two programs that had marquee wins against Power 5 schools. Northern Illinois, and both did it on the road. Northern Illinois did it in South Bend, knocking off Notre Dame. And Toledo did it in Starkville, knocking off Mississippi State. Now, Toledo's game is not quite as infamous because Mississippi State's having one of those years. But Northern Illinois is the black eye for the Irish season thus far. But then after those games, they laid duds and have struggled since. It's kind of a key game for MAC Nation as they've kind of fallen off the radar a bit after early success. And looking at Gleason, had decent numbers, over 1,300 yards passing, 13 TDs, but 4 picks. But Williams for the Huskies, over 400 yards rushing, but only 1 touchdown. Can the rushing attack be more dominant for Northern Illinois? Can they withstand the passing assault of Gleason and Newton? As Newton's the primary receiver, has half of the touchdowns. And can Northern Illinois defense really step up? That game of Washington Notre Dame, you saw the intensity the Huskies have on defense, how they can really rush and disrupt a timing of the quarterback and receivers. Can they do it against Toledo? That's going to be a big question. They're going to struggle. Toledo's a very good team as well. They've always been good. And they're like one of the premier teams of the MAC. And Toledo's going to give Huskies everything they can handle, and more. Northern Illinois is favored by 2.5. I'll keep it with Northern Illinois, but I'm definitely uneasy with this particular pick. Let's head out to Fayetteville, Arkansas, where the Razorbacks are playing host to LSU for the Battle of the Boot. What is the Boot? And LSU is riding high off of that overtime thriller against Ole Miss. They're in the top 10. Arkansas is going to look at this as we're giving no love. We're not ranked. We knocked off Tennessee, and we're still hanging out here. They're going to look at this game as another game for them to stamp respect into people, stomp it in them. And can, Neusmeyer overcome the aggressive Razorback defense? I mean, he's almost 2,000 yards passing, 18 touchdowns, but he does have 6 picks, and that's what Arkansas has to create those turnovers, give their offense the opportunity with shorter field. That will give Jackson more opportunity to rack up more points. I mean, he has 99 carries for 566 yards and 10 touchdowns for Razorbacks. And Armstrong still looking for that first receiving touchdown. He has over 550 yards, the leading receiver for the Razorbacks, without finding the end zone. But those are some key factors the Razorbacks have to go in there. LSU is favored by 2. Here's my upset. I will take Arkansas to knock off LSU. I think they're going to be flying too high off of that Ole Miss win for the Magnolia Bowl, and they'll come out short in the Battle of the Boot. Another top 5 showdown, 2 weeks in a row now. And the SEC has got some bangers this week. We head up to Austin as the number 1 Texas Longhorns will play host to number 5 Georgia. Georgia's kind of recovered from that loss to Alabama. Here they are back in the top 5, back into the national aspect. And Georgia's going to have their hands full. You thought Alabama was a tough opponent. Wait till you take on these Longhorns. These guys are poised to wreak havoc. And Ewers, it has been phenomenal. Beck for the Bulldogs. I mean, 1,800 yards passing, 15 TDs, and 5 picks. He hasn't been himself recently. And Georgia does have some, mediocre games that they've kind of done. But they found ways to win, and that's what you take on. Georgia will battle Texas. This will be a slob knocker for these two going at it, and Georgia will take them to the limit. However, I do think Texas is going to be too much. They'll be all over in the backfield, disrupting Beck. They'll be trying to contain Etienne from running too much. So the Texas defense will be tested. Georgia's defense will be tested, but I kind of believe a little bit more in the Texas offense. I mean, the Red River game, Texas defense was all over Oklahoma and picked them off a lot, forced a lot of turnovers. That's going to be key to this game. Limit the mistakes and the negative plays. I think Texas will end up coming on top. They're favored by 5 points. I think it's going to be closer. Now, I'm thinking it might be like a 2 or 3 point win, but I am going with the Longhorns to win this game. And then we'll finish things off out there in Corvallis, Oregon, as the Beavers 4-2 play host to 5-1 UNLV. Now UNLV's had some key games in there, and some key wins against power programs. The game against Syracuse, it kind of fell short, but they've had ways to kind of bounce back from that one. McCoy has been going back and forth. That game against Nevada is going to probably haunt them. And can UNLV's defense really step up and really dominate the performance and dictate the game like they did against Fresno State? And that's going to be the key fact, is UNLV's defense that elite to continue to do this, take on a prolific offense of Oregon State that once they're clicking, they are hard to beat. And that's the problem. If you disrupt their timing, it's the Rebels will have a good game and feed on some Beavers. But it's, can they stop the rushing prowess of Hankerson, who has over 600 yards and 12 touchdowns? That's going to be a huge factor in this game. Right now, UNLV is favored by 7. I am going on a limb. I will take the Beavers to win at home, but I do think it will be a very, very close game. I wouldn't be surprised if it's probably by a point, but we'll take the Beavers. by 10. Let me know. Like I said, I had like 3 others I was thinking of. I just didn't quite cover. I'm only going to do 10. I'm not going to go above that. So it's just trying to pick the ones I think will probably be the most interesting. Some of them may not. Some of them will. Definitely some great games, especially SEC with Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, and Georgia. Another quality week of college football. Sit there and veg and watch this Saturday. Let me know what you think about my picks. I know a few of them went on a stretch. I'm at least looking to get to 5-5. That's all I'm looking for. But let me know which game you're looking forward to this weekend. And are you looking forward to this 12-team format? This should be it's making the season even more exciting because you don't know which games are going to really affect the outcome. And for me, my bowl or ranking system will be coming out very shortly. Kind of do like a computer-based ranking system. I know the college football playoff one won't come out for I think a couple more weeks. But I'll probably get mine out a little bit early, kind of give a taste. It's been 8 weeks, and after 8 weeks, I think it's a good time to put one out there, especially when you have about 16 weeks of the season, so half of the season's gone. No, not everyone plays the whole 16, but anyways. But next week, we'll probably see the introduction of my top 25. Definitely not going to be the same. I'll tell you that right now. But more of that to follow. And like I said, fun weekend. Let me know what you think. If you're still here, hit that thumbs up for me. I really appreciate it. It really helps boost this video out. It really boosts the algorithm, especially if we comment and interact as well. It really helps really generate more buzz for the video. If you like what I do, you like my ramblings, my side missions, and all that stuff, you can subscribe. I love you guys watching my video. I appreciate it. I love it. Thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you for those who have subscribed. You're the best. For those that haven't, very simple. Doesn't cost you anything. You hit that subscribe button, click that bell icon, turn on notifications so you know next time I post any more content on my channel. And I'll see you next time. Chat Sports Talk.